Welcome everybody. Coach BK, Brave Soul Coaching and the Wolfpack Tri Club. Yay! Hey, so we're going to do not too long of a chat about training for Ironman Wisconsin. And there's going to be lots of resources for this PDF. There's an article that goes with this. And a training group availability. Wolfpack Tri Club is going to Wisconsin next year. So if you want some camaraderie and some awesome Sherpas or whatever else, training with a group that's training specifically for this race, let us know. Anyway, here we go. So we're talking about Ironman Wisconsin, and I love this race. I love this race. Love this race. I don't know why, because I don't like biking, but I think I figured it out here a little bit when I was reading the athlete guide over, kind of reviewing it. It's like maybe it's the first Ironman, and it's kind of like going to your homecoming reunion for high school, maybe. Just kind of a first time, it's one of those things that you put a lot of effort to and a lot of heart and soul, and it becomes kind of this icon in your mind. Anyway, Ironman Wisconsin, though, is a really good race anyway. It is a difficult race. However, the layout of it is super awesome. Gosh, there's just so many good things to say about Ironman Wisconsin. So anyway, here we go. Let's talk about, it's a year out, and you are either thinking about signing up for Wisconsin or you already have. And just kind of want to give you some straight good ideas on what to start doing now, because you do want to start Ironman Wisconsin. You do want to train a year for it or so. It's a big race, and if you're already doing triathlon and stuff like that, you can have a nice foundation and you have some knowledge and some skill to build on. And so hopefully this is going to I'm going to give you an overview, and there's going to be a lot more information regarding this if you're interested. So just hit us up. Okay. Ironman Wisconsin. Everybody, you ask 1,000,000,001 questions, how much elevation gain, and you'll Google, and the athlete guide will say something different than what somebody's Garmin Connect says, and it's just sort of all over the place. My Garmin data, I've done Ironman Wisconsin twice, and so I went and I looked at my Garmin data because I was Googling a bike profile picture from Ironman. My Garmin data says 6,000 plus feet of climbing for the bike. So that's what we're going to say today. There's a lot of hill climbing. And then for the run, it said 4,000 plus. But that sounds like an astronomical amount of hill. Anyway, the point is that when you take on Ironman Wisconsin, you need to train hills, strength, nutrition, and mental grit. Just in a nutshell. There you go. But be prepared to do some hill climbing. So Ironman Wisconsin's pretty cool in that the expo and the layout of it are really awesome. It's in that terrace area, kind of in the shopping place. All the bikes are on top in the parking lot, which is pretty cool, except for the fact that you got to run up the helix. But you really have, the adrenaline is so high at that point. You're like, oh, this is cool. Going down the helix in your bike is kind of one of the coolest sounds ever, to listen to the race wheels chattering when you go. It's just really super cool. The bike route is well supported. The race is well supported. Cookies are given to all the houses on the bike route. So it's just a really wonderful venue to go to. Very well supported as far as spectators. Your people, it's kind of all in a nice spot. They don't have to walk around all over the place. There's shuttles to where the loop is at and stuff like that for the bike. So wonderful spectator. Everything is laid out really well for checking in. It's not kind of a cluster. It's not stressful. There's hotels right there, which is highly recommended. It's just easy to get around, and they're just right there. So How to train for this race. If you've signed up for it, I would really suggest getting a training journal. It's something that's going to hold you accountable, because sometimes you're not going to want to do it, and you really don't want to skip much of like the biking in particular. Of course, if you have strengths in swimming, you could skip some of the swimming, but if you're Enigma and you're a really good hill climber, and you're well prepared for biking like that. But I would suggest that a journal, so you hold yourself accountable to doing some of the hard work. Okay. On swim, and get like in what your strengths and weaknesses are, and really kind of evaluate now what you really need to work on. And I'm assuming a lot of you have that all wrapped in your mind and stuff like that. So for the swim isn't a mass start now, so it's more of normal to, the swims are becoming just almost the same, kind of this self-seating age group, self-seating type of pace idea. Not a fan, but it is what it is. So what you need to do with your swim is you need to train to swim straight. It sounds like super duper obvious, but most of us don't, because that means doing drill work. That means getting your swim analysis, your swim stroke looked at every month or two. It's not hard. It's a real quick phone video. Send it to your coach. Okay, yeah, do these drills, do that. Trying to swim straight, and that's also gym work. Swim strong, so doing the fast 50s, doing the hard work to develop some mental grit as well. Swimming strong, and obviously mileage, right? So swimming long, that comes with a good training plan. And then, if you struggle with the anxiety a little bit, there's some tips and tricks on soaking your wetsuit 5 times before you put it on to allow it to loosen up a little bit before you put it on for the first time. So, Wisconsin a little bit earlier, so you might not have a lot of opportunity. Oh, I was thinking about the half. Sorry, delete that. And then run before you swim. Get into the habit of doing that to be prepared for having a really wonderful swim. And we're going to have a lecture on why you really want to do that. And there's something physiological that not a lot of people are talking about, a little bit more than anxiety and whatnot, to run before you swim. So anyway, synopsis of the swim. In the pool, do the drills. In the gym, do the strength work. In the gym and the strength work, you can equalize the shoulders faster in the gym than you can in the pool. You do some specific yoga stuff and stretching for range of motion. Again, swim straight. So if one shoulder's tighter than the other, that's part of the reason why you're not swimming straight. And then again in the pool, develop some mental grit so you can manage sometimes the swims turn into a cluster because they're busy and people are swimming all over each other. So it's not that tough. It's just consistent activity, but not just going in and swimming all the time. You need to be doing specific stuff, like we'll do a faster in 5 swim workout program aimed at improving pace, but also developing mental grit. And we give people fast 50s, and they're not only meant to help you be faster, improve your pace, they're also meant to help you develop mental grit and how to control your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, how to calm the heck down when stuff goes sideways. If you can do that, then you have a better chance of managing well and staying on pace and not expending a lot of extra energy in an Ironman swim if your mental grit is on point. Because sometimes those swims just turn into, kind of not all that great the whole time. So anyway, swim. Biking, right? Where the money's at, really. I didn't put this in the article, but I might. If you have some weight to lose, I need to let the dog out. He's whining. If you have some weight to lose, gravity is still a thing. Big baby. So, hill climbing and having, 15, 20 extra pounds is not ideal. So, you have a year out. So if you want to move all of the fluffy stuff into strong, doing strength training, I would. Because if you're climbing all of that 6,000 plus feet, being as lean as possible and having all of the wonderful fluffy stuff turn into strong, lean muscle, that would be awesome. Okay? Because gravity is still a deal. So that's one thing that, is just kind of on the side there. On the biking, again, I said don't skip the drills. Don't skip the hard intervals. Know that each time you get on that bike, on the trainer, know that when it sucks and you're doing the heart rate training or you're doing the training by power or whatever, each bike ride that is difficult is an investment in making that Wisconsin Ironman bike ride awesome. So I got to tell you, it might be one of the funnest things that you do, maybe, if you're kind of Eagle Knievel like me. Part of the bike is rolling hills, and I caught some air on some of those rolling hills because you'll practice hill climbing, and I was going so fast up one hill because I was really utilizing the up and the down that my bike lifted off and I came off the seat, and it was just so much fun. But when you're doing the hard stuff in the off season and during the season, and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, keep in mind that finisher picture. Keep in mind what it's going to look like when you finish that race and you have a smile on your face and you did the best that you could the whole time. That whole time starts now. So when you're doing the bike intervals, when you're deciding to not have, cocktails because you got to get up in the morning and do X, Y, and Z, know that it will pay off. It really will, because that bike can be fun. You can be confident and strong and blaze down some of those hills super fast. I think my fastest was maybe 42 mile an hour. It can be a fun bike ride. Are there some tough spots? Yeah. But such as with everything else. Okay. Nitty gritty. Don't skip the bike intervals. Have your bike set up well, because there's a lot to be managed just the bike course itself with the bikers. If you find yourself in a particular area, based on how they're doing their swimming now, you could be in a congested area, so you need to mentally be on point. You need to have things set up on your bike that it's easy to manage, so you keep your nutrition game completely on point. Okay, so the hydration system, that's why I tell my athletes to use the hydration system in front. It's easier to manage your water with your air bottle in the front, rolling to the bike stations. Everything has to be like clockwork, and you have to know what you're doing, and you have to kind of keep an eye on what everybody else is doing around you. A friend of ours, Katie Cole, she had a craptastic world's race because someone screwed up in front of her. That sucks, man, and that's racing. So you need to understand that hydration, fueling, things need to be easy. You need to be having your eyes forward all the time. I never put utilize bike bottles behind me because I never want to reach around. I always want to have my eyes forward. I do have an extra bottle in the back, but it's for special needs, stopping and switching out fuel in case I don't have my special needs bag. So bike setup is critical, so you're constantly able to fuel on point. You're able to drink when you need to, even while you're managing the course itself. So you're going down a hill or up a hill, you've got to figure out, okay, my Garmin told me that I was supposed to do some base salts, and I was trying to get up a hill, so I need to da-da-da-da-da. There is a lot of mental stuff going on managing that bike, managing your nutrition, managing you, and being safe. Okay? Gearing. The rear cassette could stand to be changed from a compact in order to give you a wider range of gears. More on that. I don't want to rattle the numbers off, but if you're interested in learning more about some of that stuff, join our Tri Club or join the training group, or hit me up or Google it. But I think the numbers are, I don't know, 11 to 28 maybe. I could be wrong. Need to look it up. But anyway, gearing. And one of our coaches, the bike coach for our club, He found an oval gear that is like the shit. So just more on that. This stuff does matter. So if you don't have a bike shop that's really good or whatever, or a coach or a group that you can find on, getting the bike not technical, but getting it situated in such a way that it's easy, it's routine, there's minimal risk of error on your part, and it's ease of use for keeping stuff routine while you're managing that bike ride. And then the gearing, that's really important. And you don't necessarily need to do Wisconsin on a time trial bike. Lots of people do it on road bikes because of road bikes can be nice for hill climbing. Okay. Drill work on efficiency, the single leg drills, the RPM work and stuff like that. We just did a video for the Faster in 5 program on RPM, on cadence, on standing and whatnot. So that is, know what you're doing there, and know that for Wisconsin, stuff like that, you need to know how to hill climb. That takes practice, but it takes the idea of the drills that you learn in your single leg drills and in your RPM work and shifting. You need to understand how to shift well to do the RPM in order to keep a higher RPM going up hills, so you don't burn your quads out, so you can run when you get to the run. Intervals, we talked about that, and that's more on making some physiological changes in the legs, more to mitochondria, and helping the body to learn how to utilize the energy systems a little bit better. The talk that I just did an hour ago talked on this exact point of tweaks that you can make when you're doing heart rate stuff and interval stuff correctly. Your legs will turn into better machines, and then you apply that to hill climbing. Strength training helps as well, along with HIIT training, high intensity training. It's the same idea as with the interval stuff. And all of that stuff helps with weight loss. Okay, learn to shift well. Not only for maintaining cadence, but learning to shift well and having some experience with doing hill repeats. I've ridden on the Wisconsin course a number of times, and it seems like every time something crazy happens. I had my bike kind of looked at the last time I did it, and I ended up dropping a chain 5 times on my last Wisconsin ride, and it was because the person had set a limit wrong, which was horrible. So I had to learn how to shift on the fly on that day and how to not shift a certain way to drop my chain, and it was kind of dropping it in the front where it gets stuck. So I guess that brings up a good point that before you get to the race, you want to have your bike looked at, make sure that the shifting cables haven't stretched and that it is working top notch, because you will be shifting a shit ton during Wisconsin. Pardon that, but it is a lot. So you need to know how to shift, and we talked about that in the Faster in 5 program too. There's a video on how to shift well, and kind of letting up. And then when you're rolling through hills, and this is where bike intervals come in, so you have experience, you need to know how to shift rolling into those hills to where you're not like shifting big chain ring to little chain ring halfway in the middle of a hill. You don't want to do that. That's horrible, and it's a great way to drop your chain right in the middle of a hill, and then you're going to be going 3 miles an hour with your feet clipped in, and instantly you're going to topple. It's just a horrible thing. I did it 5 times. So it's always kind of a crazy moment, and it was kind of busy the times that I did it because people are right behind you or right beside you, and it's so how to shift well, not drop the train, and that's more on letting up on the pedaling shift and ease it into there, especially when you're going into the small chain ring or the big chain ring. And then if you're shifting between those two, you have to shift the rear too, so you don't have this huge gap in tension on the chain or your effort, right? Because when you just shift down automatically to the small chain ring and don't change the back, you're going to spin super fast. And so it's going to be kind of abrasive, lose your balance, drop a chain, fall on your knee. get bike grease all over you because you have to, so no bike etiquette, right? Know how to manage these things. Know that if you are going to contemplate walking up a tough hill or whatever, you need to make the decision prior to being on the hill, ideally. And then when you walk up a hill, or you, like for me personally, bike etiquette for like Wisconsin, it is not appropriate to weave back and forth across the bike route in case someone wants to go through. But that's why you do the strength training. That's why you do the intervals, so you can get up any hill there. And even if you're in the granny gear and you're just grinding up there, that's okay. No other bike etiquette, how to get in and out of the bike stations well, how to look around, how to manage turns when you're coming down a hill. There's some turns in Wisconsin that you'll be screaming down, and they're well marked. The volunteers will be so if you see a volunteer telling you to slow down on the Wisconsin course, do it. And then look around to make sure that there isn't some dude that's blazing around and cuts stuff short. They do that. You need to be mindful of that. But there's some turns that you're going down and then you're going to take a turn immediately somewhere else. So you can't be blazing through there 30 miles an hour and expect to make the turn. Okay. Maximize the rollers. Oh, those are so much fun. And then really just have a solid nutrition and hydration plan. You're working harder on that bike, so your nutrition plan is going to need to be solid, but then you're also going to need to know how to scale it up, scale it down based on your effort of that day. If it's windy or if it's raining or whatever. So hydration and your fueling plan on that bike and how to manage it while you're doing the hill climbing, because I hear a lot with hilly bike rides, I didn't do anything because I couldn't manage it. You have to figure out how to manage it, and that's where you have your fuel in the front. Me personally, I have a box right between my legs and I can eat stuff out of there. That's where my base salts is at. And so everything that I need is just right in front of me in this area. Okay. So it's a wonderful bike ride, and there's tons of cows and the people everywhere, and everybody that lives on the course will come out and sit and play music for you and blast music for you and cheer you on. And you know what? They stay for the last people too. So just a wonderful day. It's a tough bike course, but it's fun. I enjoy it. It's pretty. It's clean. It's out in the country. It's wonderful. On that bike course in particular, it's a stick with 2 loops, right? And so one of the things that you need to be super mindful of is on the stick coming in and going out and coming in. It can be congested. You need to not plan on being in arrow. You need to be mindful. You need to know that other people will not do that. Because you come out of, a very busy traffic area through narrow sidewalks and loop around bridges to cross roads to do this, to do that. And it can get congested. So just be super duper mindful in the beginning there until you get out onto a road and things stretch out a little bit. Don't be an arrow. They will tell you that, but you need to be mindful of people that don't listen and will blaze by you really close to you, and you'll be like, what? Because there wasn't enough room to do it or something. So just be mindful of that. But after getting out of town a little bit, it's a wonderful bike ride. Okay. The run is hilly. So you need to plan for strength training for running up and down hills. Learning how to run down hills is the catch. Because that it's one of the things people don't train and learn how to do, and it can be really hard on the knees. So you don't need to freak out about that. Just know that the training plan needs to have hills in it, and you need to do strength training associated with equalizing out the quads and the hamstrings and having super strong backside. So and it's not like when I look back, I didn't think it was that hilly. when I've done it twice and I don't remember it being hilly. I remember some things where I'm like, but what I remember about what really stands out in my mind of the run is that it's fun. It's interesting. There's a lot of parts to it. You're in town, you're in a busy area, you're in dark places, it's going up, it's going down, there's boring places, there's college area, there's this lookout point, you run by a lake at one point in time, you run past bars twice, you run up on the first loop, you run up to the Capitol like you're almost going to finish, and everybody's like, good job, you're almost there, and then, you have another loop, and then there's that. So I it doesn't stand out in my mind about the hills. And so I look at my Garmin data and I think, really? But, so in that run, you need to strength train running on hills, and then have a super solid idea of nutrition and electrolyte plan, obviously. But then when things go sideways, what are you going to do? And I always default to, I always have base salts on me, or I'll have liquid IV, or maybe the right stuff. And we'll have more on that later. But the chicken soup and the potato chips, if you make a little stew in your mouth, is really awesome. And soda is another favorite of mine on the run. So during an Ironman season, you want to practice some of that a little bit. I'm not a particular fan of defaulting to gels. I have tried Red Bull. But have a solid plan and know how to deviate. And then, just when you're training for that run, you run when you can, and if you need to walk up hills, that's fine. So when you're training, you want to do the interval work. You want to do the strength training work. You want to have a pace that you're going to chase after. And starting from now, and on the bike too, you try to hit certain paces at certain workouts, and you try not to deviate from them, and you stick with that. For like the run, if you are going to do, say you're going to try to run to every run station, so you need to start memorizing and practicing a walk run. So, but it's like a mile run. So you're running what? 10, 11, 12 minutes, and then you walk 30 seconds. You practice that now. You start practicing that now. And then when you get to the run stations, on the run, you can run to one, you take care of your business, you get into a routine, da-da-da-da-da, and then that last trash can in the run station, you start running again. And it's easier if you have practiced in your training. So like a 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, whatever. Generally when I'm training, for the first two Ironman, I would always, even if I was on the treadmill, I would always walk at that mile alert on my watch. Now I don't. I just kind of run through them. But it is just how I train and race anymore. Is I don't have a problem with walking for 30, taking care of stuff in the run station, and then instantly getting into the run. Once you train that enough, it's just routine. And usually, you're shaking stuff around and you're doing things. Usually you kick right back into a nicer pace than what you had started before you got into the run station. Real quick, the other thing that you really want to focus on Ironman, obviously, Ironman Wisconsin, is because of the difficulty of the race and the hill climbing, you don't have a lot of room for error on your nutrition. Yeah, you can finish it and get it wrong, but you want to try to minimize that. So practicing nutrition now for training and racing is going to be really important. Practicing what to do when things go sideways and having things scalable. Okay, so if you find that on that day you need more or less, that's fine, and you can manage that. And then, so you have to practice how you're going to do that, how you're going to wrap your mind around all of that, and following kind of the guidelines on making sure that you get enough fuel in, calories, and electrolytes, sodium, during the bike specifically, so then you have more wiggle room to make errors or whatever on the run. It's harder to do that on the run anyway. It's easy to get behind on the run on all of those. So you have to manage your nutrition excellent on the bike, even with the busy technical bike, the hill climbing. You can't mess it up. You've got to get it right, or you'll be walking the run, and you don't want to walk the run. You want to run the run. You want to do the best that you can. So just know, though, that it's a special situation, the run of an Ironman. Things are different. So that you're practicing your nutrition, and it's long biking, but you never ran long after. You really don't know how the bike nutrition went, how successful it was, until you have executed a nice long run afterwards. That's where was I behind comes in. So just be mindful of that, of practicing and paying attention to how you feel the day after long bikes and how you feel running after long bikes. That's really the key on how well your bike nutrition went. Not only did you feel good during the bike. So keep that in mind, because you really don't want to suffer any more than what you need to on that run. It's a long run, and it can be a good run. My last Ironman Texas, my nutrition was spot on. The heat was the only thing that was the deviation, and I managed it. So the pace was a little bit slower, but when the sun went down, I felt great. And it's just all of these things that I'm saying. You want to feel great. You want to run and have the command of running on the Ironman run. And what will happen is that maybe some of those people that passed you on the bike, you'll pass them on the run because you did your nutrition right. So anyway, that's kind of a nutshell on how to train for Ironman Wisconsin. Just strong legs and nutrition really is kind of the nutshell, and mental grit. Don't give up, because it's a tough day. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions. If you are interested in a training group for Wisconsin, there's one of those to be had in our Wolfpack. And super excited to see a certain someone from the state of Iowa, to do her first Ironman at Wisconsin. So I'm super pumped. Anyway, everybody have a great day. Namaste. Ciao. See you later. Bye-bye.